I do want to transition to your first Burning Man experience. I've never been to Burning
Oh
Man,
yeah.
but
Hmm.
everyone that I know has obviously has really enjoyed it, and it almost seems like it's a very uh, artistic experience that people go to be inspired by other people who
Yeah.
have really wide and creative imaginations. So, like, talk to me how you
Hmm.
got into what made you want to commit to going to Burning Man, and like what your initial
Yeah.
thoughts were.
Well, I've heard about Burning Man for a long, long time, like probably early college. I've heard about it and I wanted to go, but I just had no friends to go with, so I never went. And then when I met Colin, all he talked about was Burning Man since the first day we met. And he went in 2019 and always said he wanted to take me. And so that's what happened. That's how I got into it because
Okay.
he was into it. And of course, I love like the art. And I've been to a similar event before called Lightning in the Bottle, and it kind of gave me like a sense of what Burning Man might be.
Hmm.
It kind of had the same like way of life and mindset, like the people who went. But it was so short. It was like a weekend, and you're not that far from comfort. But like in Burning Man, you're in the desert, you're in the heat, you're like, you've got to build everything. You've got to build your camp. You've got to like be self-sufficient, self-reliant,
I feel like
be a part.
it's
Yeah.
such a maker's dream, right? Like to be able
Yeah.
to like start something from scratch and then build it up yourself. It's all within whatever you imagine or design. Like, so I just
Hmm.
feel like it's a very imaginative. It really extracts
It
the
was,
imagination of a lot of people, the human ingenuity and creativity.
yeah. Just seeing everyone's creations, all the sculptures on the playa, the desert, it was amazing. And the scale of everything, the hugeness of the platforms and like art pieces that you can climb on, and like there were like three tiered, second tiered. Even the art cars were so like elaborate and huge sometimes, with like fire blowing and like different levels, like a second tier level or higher, and towers that you can climb on. Everything was so incredible, and very like super eye opening. I had an incredible experience, but I didn't come into Burning Man like being excited because I was going to be in a part of a group with like over 50 people with nobody I knew except
Hmm.
Colin, my husband. And I wasn't excited about that at all because I personally am not like a group like person. Like I don't do well in groups. I'm very introverted and like to like keep to myself. And throughout my entire life, I felt outcasted, kind of felt like rejected, not really a part of anything, not feeling like I belonged. And that has carried into my adulthood, kind of just being a loner and kind of like being by myself.
You really had to
I
put a
mean,
lot of
ceramics,
trust into Colin, because like
yeah.
he without your husband Colin, right? Like it you probably might have not gone, right? And it's just like the whole
Um,
it hinges a lot on
I
that.
yeah, I would not have gone by myself with knowing no one at all. Like I yeah, I wouldn't do that. I don't think I'd have the comfort to do that. But yeah, so just feeling rejected my whole life, I would do things by myself, like ceramics. It's very, for me, it's very individual, or yoga. That's very individual. Like I don't have to like be in a group in particular with people. Um, so coming into the camp that we had, and everyone's like great, but I still had that same resurfacing feeling of like being an outsider, not being accepted, like feeling like people weren't welcoming, people didn't like me, like having like a really bad time the first day because of all those like negative emotions and thoughts, and even crying alone because I felt like I didn't belong, or that like you know I just felt like I was an outsider.
What was that
So
turning point, I guess, that really made it enjoyable and like an eye-opening experience? If you mentioned like you were feeling you had a kind of a negative first. the first impression was more of a negative approach, and so I'm just curious how that flipped that switch.
It was slow. Well, I mean, like it felt like a really long day, and I had those like feelings for the whole day. But then the next day, I was able to connect with more people, and also like as like a camp, we went on the art car, and I was Colin took me to the roof of the car, the top tier, so we can like watch the view going into the playa, which is like where the art is,
Mm-hmm.
and the events are and the music. And it was just so overwhelming for me. It was so beautiful, deeply overwhelming. It felt like I felt so a part of the group. Suddenly I felt like included. It felt like we were a family. It felt like
Mm-hmm.
I had something to contribute, and I felt like I finally not in particularly belonged to that group only, but in general in like different groups in my life. I felt like, you know, I am a part of I am a part of groups, and I can contribute something. And I was never rejected. I was rejecting others somehow, subconsciously, which didn't allow me to open up. And I finally gave myself the permission to be accepted by everybody else. So it definitely shifted my mindset a lot and made me feel more comfortable with self-acceptance of just being me, no matter how different I felt like I was.
I think the most interesting thing that in hearing your story, thinking about the parallels, is when you were talking about how you saw Sarah Kirsten's uh, ceramic studio, right? A vision of what could be. It kind of painted a picture of like, wow, maybe like it expanded your horizons, right, to a certain degree. And so going to Burning Man, right, and going through this kind of experience, but also like seeing the grandeur, right, of all the art, right, but also going through that experience with the people, it helped paint a vision. I feel like it sounds like it helped paint a vision of possibilities and what could be, right? And it seems like those are things that like are really impactful in your life, is when a vision can get painted, kind of like it comes in front of you and it just opens the horizons in different forms in
It
your life.
really, I mean, not only that, it opened up my heart a lot, opened up like my heart to others. Like thinking about things less so selfishly as, you know, what can I get out of something? Like how something can affect me, how people can help me. And like that shifted to feeling like, how can I help others? How can I contribute? How can I be a part of this greater thing? Like picking up trash that isn't
Mm-hmm.
even mine, being able to help like take it on a shift, cooking or cleaning, being able to give gifting to others. It was just like a whole new way of living that I wasn't, well, I knew about, but I never lived before
Right. So it sounds
in
like
this capacity.
it was
Yeah.
almost like you got to experience obviously community, but what does community actually mean? Like there's a service element like to community, right? Where you felt that person to person kind of interaction, almost like in a constrained period, not constrained period of time, but under a certain circumstances where it's just like you couldn't escape, right? Like you're here at Burning Man,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it sounded like it was just
Yeah.
either a choice of like, you know, you could be sad all day, or it's like you can try to enjoy it. And so that constraint of just not being able to escape, right? Like, and just being surrounded by
Mm-hmm.
people, I think it seems like that really helped in terms of
I
the acceptance and opening up a little
yeah,
bit.
I think that was definitely a huge part of it, because you are stuck in the desert for 7 days with your camp,
Yeah.
and like I want to enjoy the rest of the time and not be all negative. So definitely I had to like get out of my comfort zone and really shift that mindset on my own.
I'm curious how the whole Burning Man experience, like when you came back from it, like how did it affect your art thought process, and particularly around, you know, your ceramics? Like what kind of, you said it opened you up emotionally, and how does that like affect your like I know you're probably still processing it and going through it, but were there anything that you know was there anything that you noticed when you were back on the wheel, and preparing
Um,
to throw again?
well, like it was like, well, like I brought back a lot of the energy that I was feeling and like kind of that high from being at Burning Man. But during one of the nights going out at Burning Man, I had another kind of mindset shift where I felt like um, my inner dialogue was saying to my customers or people like my followers that I hope you like my art. I hope you like my work. But then that suddenly shifted to like more of an empowering inner dialogue that said, thank you for trusting me to make like, sick ass art.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you. And it made me kind of realize, okay, they trust me. They are like buying my work. They are following me. They are engaging and talking to me. And it must mean that I'm doing something that they are resonating with or they love or they like and that means something to them. So I need to reframe it in a way where I am trusting myself to, provide that for them. So it definitely gave me that shift as well. Instead of having that insecurity of hoping that they like my work, but just like trusting myself so much that I want to thank everyone for trusting me.
It sounds like it's an empowerment of like it's a service meant like a service oriented shift, right? But more in an empowerment kind of way. Like I'm here, not necessarily I'm here to serve my clients, but it's like I'm serving them in a kind of an experience, right? That that they're like that I know that they're appreciative of. And there's a little bit, it sounds like there's almost a little bit of empathy, right? That you had for, your followers, right? Or the people that do buy your ceramics and really try to think about how they felt or potentially how they feel about why they support your art.
Right. No, I think that it's mutual, like thanking them for like trusting me and my vision and my work and my artistry and them appreciating it. So it's more than just buying like any pot. It's like having that connection with them.
They're buying a piece of your mind, where you're at in your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the story of who you are as a person, and not only just as a ceramicist.
Yeah, they're like buying a part of my evolution. It's like a limited collection every single time.
I mean, you could just make a new collection that's called Christine 2022 2022 or something like that, or the summer collection, or you can season it as well.
Yeah, I don't know. That's too much thinking for me right now.